Kevin Ray Mcatlin is writing an apology to the daughter of Elizabeth Carter, 7 hours after he was arrested for her murder. Although this letter was presented as a way for him to give closure to his victim's daughter, police would retrieve it from this room and log it straight into evidence. A week prior, Mcatlin was cited at a bar, allegedly bragging about having killed a woman, aggrandizing some details compared to what was found at the scene. The body of Elizabeth Carter was reported to the St. George Police Department, Utah, after property managers discovered it during an inspection. Officers at the scene found furniture in disarray and bloodstains on the floor. In the bathtub, a human body lay partially obscured beneath a couch cushion and clothes. Within 24 hours, police tracked Carter back in time to the night she was last seen alive. On June 1st, she attended a party at a friend's house. Carter had met a man there named Kevin, flirted with him through the night, and eventually left the party with him. When a bloody fingerprint was positively matched to Mcatlin, he became the prime suspect in Carter's murder. 3 days after her body was found, he was arrested at his grandmother's house. Officers Wilson and Triplett flew from St. George to the city of Moab, where they made the arrest, the men embarking on a 5-hour drive back. Though detectives would prefer to interrogate Mcatlin in the controlled environment of their own interview room, conversation is inevitable given the length of their journey. Triplett prepares to take advantage of this by attaching his body cam to the rear-view mirror. Mcatlin has not yet been read his Miranda rights, but should an opportunity to give the warning and commence questioning arise, the detectives are ready to capture his interrogation.
So what exactly is going on so far? I don't really know. I tried to ask the 2 guys back home, and all I did was send me death threats. So.
What do you mean, what's going on so far?
I know they found one of the chicks from the party dead, but they didn't tell me anything else. They said that they think I did it, so.
Okay. Well, we'll probably talk to you and sit down and do a real detailed interview, get your side of the story and everything once we get to St. George, if that works. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mcatlin initiates conversation, referring to Carter as though he barely interacted with her. He's setting up to deceive the detectives and deny the crime.
Was my grandma pretty upset with how I got arrested? What about Sasha? Did you guys interview Sasha? What did she say?
We'll talk about it a little bit more.
This Sasha is a married mother of 4 who'd been engaged in an on and off affair with Mcatlin for around 6 months. Their relationship is clearly at the forefront of Mcatlin's mind, and his unguarded desire to speak with her will become a key bargaining chip in enticing his cooperation.
Is there any way that I could, you guys could, tell me anything about Sasha's reaction or anything, or if I could call her? That's all I've wanted to do is just call her.
Here's the deal, man. I'll make you a promise, okay?
Yeah.
If you're cool with us, straight up with us, during your questions and stuff, I promise you I'll let you call her. Okay?
Alright, thank you.
Yeah. Say what?
Did anyone make any remarks about me being crazy or not knowing what reality is or something?
No.
What? No.
Mcatlin's constant paranoia regarding what others have said about him may be a side effect of his methamphetamine use. He would later testify to possessing $2,000 worth of meth and heroin on the night of Carter's murder, and will readily admit to police that he shared these drugs with his victim. While his paranoia may be an innate personality trait, the stressful situation and his drug habits no doubt exacerbate this. His lifestyle also triggers violent outbursts and a lack of accountability. Friends describe how Mcatlin had bragged about evading charges for murder, domestic violence, and voyeurism in the past. This growing understanding of Mcatlin's personality and patterns of behavior will prove useful ammunition for the detectives in their pursuit of a confession.
What's the best kind of work to do over there? In Moab, what's the best?
Bartending, probably.
Bartending. Isn't Rio Tinto over there too?
Oh, yeah, okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's there. I thought you were talking about the bar in the Rio. I worked there for like 8 years on and off.
So do any of your tattoos have any significance, or they just
Every single one has a meaning.
Oh, really?
Like, though, everyone thinks that this is a pentagram, but it's not. It's actually a demon seal to trap demons. My fingers say Punisher because that was the name that they gave me when I was doing MMA. And it was also my favorite hero, so, well, I guess Villagente.
Yeah. What's the eyeball?
My mom set my hand on fire when I was a little kid. She didn't want to avoid it, so I was like 2 weeks old, and so I just got it for seeing through the pain. It's a bleeding eyeball. So.
Yeah.
Their questions about the best work to do in Mcatlin's area help officers connect with him on a working man level. They also draw him into speaking about his tattoos. The demon seal and biohazard symbol show that he deliberately constructs an edgy persona. He also identifies himself with the Punisher, a comic book anti-hero known for his ruthlessness. Mcatlin adopted the character as his MMA fighting alias, suggesting he wants to be perceived as an equally violent figure.
But I was like the first person that my boss Bryce had ever known that could like do the job without years of training. Because I pick up on things really quick.
Here surfaces Mcatlin's tendency to brag about his own accomplishments and a desire for others to recognize him as sharp and competent. As the conversation turns toward Carter's death, Mcatlin will drop this boastful attitude.
You're a Christian? Yeah, I was actually a youth pastor for a year too, but I caught one of the pastors doing something pretty unsavory, so I definitely haven't been to a congregation since.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Not that I lost my faith, but what?
What was he doing?
He's having sex with my girlfriend.
You can see how that do it.
I don't exactly live like I should at all. Like I've been doing drugs for a long time.
Yeah.
Kinda warped a little bit.
Mcatlin uses his struggles to deflect responsibility for his behavior, clinging to the idea that his mental health, drug use, and lack of support are the root cause of any corrupt or criminal behavior. He's laying groundwork to establish a lack of intent, chasing a more lenient prosecution. The detectives reiterate their quid pro quo and wield Mcatlin's desire for the moral high ground to steer him towards honesty and eventually confession.
You think I'll ever get to see Sasha again?
Yeah. I do. Like I say, the more straight up with us you are, honestly, 100% honest, the better it is.
Okay.
Things work out a lot better if it seems like you're remorseful and you know what I mean, you're straight up about any mistakes you made, and that goes a long way with us, goes a long way with everybody through the process, you know?
I've never really hurt anybody before.
Yeah. Everybody makes mistakes, man. You know? It happens. Like I say, the thing that separates the good people from maybe those that aren't is those people that recognize their mistakes and confess them and move on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Until now, the conversation has been casual, keeping him in a calm state. Now that his fear of punishment is emerging and he must face his guilt and regret, his churning thoughts are evident in his restlessness. Triplett evaluates remorse as something suspects must strive for, connoting at least some culpability on Mcatlin's part. This statement is not only unchallenged by Mcatlin, but agreed upon. When contrasting the exemplar of a good person, Triplett stops short of saying the word bad. He's aware of Mcatlin's insecurity and can't risk harming the rapport they've been building.
Like, what's like, for someone who knows that they messed up and everything, like, what's the minimum sentence, I guess, for whatever I've done?
Mcatlin seeks to manage his growing anxiety by alleviating his fear of the unknown. He broaches the idea of punishment, trying to get a picture of the sentence he faces so that he can stop agonizing about the road ahead. By leading the conversation in this direction, Mcatlin reveals that he's being driven by self-preservation and that his agitation is less to do with feelings of remorse over the crime he's committed. The detectives can't delve further into this topic. Suggesting any action would reduce his punishment could be perceived as enticement, a manipulation that could render any confession inadmissible.
You okay?
Yeah, I just thought about something.
Yeah.
How much family did she have?
Say what?
How much family did that lady have?
A little bit. Why don't we talk about it, man? You want to talk about it?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. What we're going to do, obviously, because you're in handcuffs and stuff, we've got to advise you of your Miranda rights, okay? You understand those? Yeah? We good to talk? Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Speak up because I can't hear you.
Yes, sir.
No, you're okay. I'm half deaf, so I gotta hear you loud.
Now that he's been Mirandized, the tone of the conversation will shift. The detectives' new priority is to extract evidence they can use against Mcatlin. Triplett suffers no hearing problems. The detectives need undeniable proof that Mcatlin has heard and understood his rights and continues the conversation with informed consent.
The person who drove my vehicle was definitely, I think it was Liz, yeah. And when we got there, like, I don't know if I was passed out or if she took me up there, I don't know. But I vaguely remember taking a shower, and I remember taking a couple more shots of my bottle. That's as much as I remember. But I can't think of anything else that I might have spaced out or something. Like, I've been thinking it over and over and over, and like, I feel like in some way responsible for whatever has happened there. But I mean, if I saw, like, maybe, I don't know, if I could just figure out what happened, like, there's no details, like, but maybe I would remember if it was reference or something.
Okay.
He again retreats behind the shield of his drug use. Mcatlin dismisses any responsibility for his actions on the night of Carter's death, demonstrating his primary concern is for himself rather than for her family. This also presents another attempt by Mcatlin to demonstrate he wasn't of sound mind, oblivious to the detective's efforts to prove the opposite.
So you left the party in your work truck with somebody. You said Liz.
Yes.
How do you know Liz?
I don't know her. I've never met her before. She was at that party and she said that she lived out by where I live, which actually wasn't even true. Like, I just didn't know. I was too drunk to drive and I was really incoherent. Okay. So I just like fell asleep in the passenger seat and gave my keys to whoever wanted to drive me.
Okay. So she drove your truck to St. George to her house, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and where does she live?
That apartment complex, the white one.
white apartment complex?
The one that's in the photo of the article.
Then what?
I remember. I'm trying to think. So when I remember, I was taking a shower, and I got out and I saw Liz and some guy I'd never met before. And he had some kind of construction vest on, like a Type 2, I think.
Okay.
And I remember this guy was digging through my bag, my laptop bag, and I had like my drugs were in the laptop bag. And I remember
The detectives have already matched a fingerprint in Carter's house to Mcatlin, so their probing doesn't need to establish he was there. Rather, Mcatlin's answers evince that he had the presence of mind to observe his surroundings, that he remembers details from the neighborhood to interior. This calls into question any claims he may make of a drug-fueled haze clouding his judgment.
What did the apartment look like?
From the bathroom, it looked like a studio. God, it's really hard. It looked like
Mcatlin's seeming detachment highlights the physical toll his distress inflicts on his body. As the detectives shift to safer topics, their suspect's parasympathetic nervous system takes the opportunity to wind down into a more restful state, prompting Mcatlin's yawning.
the guy I'd never met. He wasn't at Lyle's house at all. But he stood up as soon as he saw me. Because I was looking at him and looking at why he was digging through my bag.
How did that make you feel? You saw it?
I just remember, like, having a moment like, why?
Mcatlin recounts this story unprompted, eager to focus on the one event where he was the wronged party. The detectives feel out his emotional response to this trespass, trying to ascertain patterns of anger in his character. Although Mcatlin's response doesn't follow this path, they've successfully convinced him they empathize with his feelings, perhaps an even greater victory. When Mcatlin later circles back to this event, his newfound validation grants the detectives an admission of his anger towards Carter.
I remember him just like loading my drugs like they were his or something, and I just got really angry. Like really angry.
Really angry? Yeah.
And I was just so intoxicating. Like, I don't remember if I was verbalizing it or not.
Yeah.
Did he smoke your drugs?
Yes.
Did you smoke with him?
I remember like trying to calm down, and I smoked a little bit with him, yeah, I think.
Did you smoke some with Liz too?
Yeah, well, me and Liz had been smoking all night from Lyle's house all the way.
I mean, at the bar. You three smoked together.
Yeah, we did.
Were you mad at Liz for letting him smoke your drugs?
I think, yeah, probably. Yeah, I was angry but I was angry at him too.
Yeah. Then did he leave?
Huh?
Then did he leave?
I don't remember him leaving.
Okay.
I remember waking up in my truck, but I don't remember the staircase or anything. I don't think Liz could have carried me down. I think maybe
When Mcatlin expresses his anger towards Carter, he immediately downplays it, claiming he can't remember much else. When he describes waking up in his truck, he questions if Carter might have been the one to take him out of the apartment, implying that she was alive when he left. He also suggests the other man was still present by this time, later asking if the detectives had interviewed such a man in a feeble attempt to provide an alternative suspect.
Did you guys interview anyone that looks like that?
Yeah.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
What was his name? And I remember arguing with Liz about why she would let someone go through my things and smoke my drugs while I was in the shower instead of waiting for me to get out. And then I remember she slapped me. And I don't remember anything after that. I just remember arguing with her and she slapped me. I couldn't believe she slapped me.
I don't want you to think that we think you're a bad person, okay? Because we've talked to a lot of people. We know who you are. We know you're a good guy who has struggled in life and has been dealt a crappy set of cards. Just start back where Liz slapped you. We go from there. This is not easy. Okay? But I know you can do this.
Mcatlin focuses on Carter's action of slapping him, his tone bewildered. His fixation isn't about the physical threat to him, rather the way it triggered his temper and sent him spiraling into an unconscious rage. The detectives can't allow him to retreat into this narrative of memory lapses. So again, they restore Mcatlin's focus with emotional and physical comfort. At no point will Triplett and Wilson buy into his supposed amnesia, and the ego boosts they offer disguise their efforts to strip him of this excuse. This approach works. Mcatlin will finally tell the truth.
I remember she slapped me and I just looked around and there was a bunch of things across the ground and I grabbed her by the throat and I threw her against the there's like a little shelf or something next to the couch as hard as I could, and I remember she hit it really hard and I was like, oh shit, and for a second I didn't really know what to do, and she said help, and I didn't want her to scream, so she had a little fucking sword looking knife thing, and I don't know why I got so mad. I just got so mad and I couldn't control it, and it just remember panicking. I just didn't want to get in trouble for hitting her back. I don't want to go to jail for the rest of my life.
Hey, Kevin. Remember what I told you, man. Don't even think about that kind of stuff, okay?
Start off right from where you said you look on the ground. You saw what you said, a little sword thing.
Yeah, it was like a little, those katana sets. It had a small one, and when she said help, I covered her mouth and she started trying to fight it, so I just stabbed her in the throat. Fucking like 3 times or something. I just wanted her to not scream, and then I realized that I was making it worse, and I couldn't do anything about it, and I just sat there freaking out, and then for a second I tried to stop the bleeding, and then I couldn't, and then someone knocked on the door, and I just tried to be quiet, and I was I couldn't face who was on the other side of the door.
The detectives have Mcatlin right where they want him, as he describes his redemptive attempts to stop Carter's bleeding. Among these, Mcatlin reveals he hid when someone knocked on Carter's door, inadvertently reinforcing that he had the mental capacity to understand and want to hide his crime. The detectives further soothe Mcatlin with assurances that interviews with friends and family revealed they love and support him.
All my friends think I'm crazy.
No, absolutely not. I'll tell you, we talked to a lot of your friends, okay? And we learned a lot about you. Alright? And there's a lot of people that love you to death.
In reality, friends reported that Mcatlin was prone to violent and erratic behavior. Michael Norlander, a local tattoo artist, shared with police that he and Mcatlin spoke at a local bar on June 9th, a week after the murder. Mcatlin said he'd done something awful, later elaborating that he'd cut some girl's head off with a sword and trashed her house after the fact. Norlander claimed that Mcatlin was bragging about the act, describing him as a pretty deranged person who always carried a knife around with him. Mcatlin's best friend Billy Snyder also heard the confession. Mcatlin revealed he took someone's life. He took the breath out of her. Snyder acknowledges that his friend was prone to exaggerate, but emphasized to police that he's very capable of something like this. By Snyder's own admission, Mcatlin's tone was boastful, pride, not guilt, for his actions. This forces us to double-guess the root of his grief. Perhaps his bragging was fueled by liquid courage and a need for Norlander and Snyder to appreciate his unshakable machismo. Perhaps what we see now isn't horror at his own actions, but a man forced to confront that his unchecked aggression has finally caught up to him.
Well, I covered up her whole body with a blanket or something, or there was a box right next to her with clothes, or I think it was a blanket or clothes, and I just tried to cover up her whole body.
Why'd you do that?
Because I felt bad. I couldn't believe I did it.
Mcatlin had bragged to Norlander about wrecking Carter's house just a few days ago, but he's done a quick about-turn for the detectives, fixating on how he tried to remedy the mess. His bold, masculine persona has been abandoned, and he instead throws himself on his loss of control plea, still denying responsibility for what he did. His failure to comprehend and address his own violent behavior displays an ongoing pattern that's led to this final, explosive crime. The detectives draw Mcatlin's attention to his own guilt by questioning his motives in covering up Carter's body. By having Mcatlin admit these feelings of shame, they prove again that he was of sound mind and understood he'd done something terribly wrong. Ariel Velasquez, the wife of a Moab City PD officer, said she'd had contact with Mcatlin almost a decade earlier. At a party, he'd made a comment about gutting her, stuffing her with a heater, and having sex with her. He also carried a machete with him, which he showed to everyone at the party. In the 10 years since this incident, it seems Mcatlin has failed to confront and reconcile his violent tendencies. Rather, he has allowed this aggression to fester, reaching the point where even his friends seem unsurprised things have escalated to murder.
Hey, Kevin. Answer to one of your questions. You got a 14-year-old daughter?
No, shit. I think I told Sasha a little bit.
What did you tell Sasha exactly?
I think I told her that I think I told her that I think I did something really bad.
But you didn't tell her exactly what you did, though, right?
No, I didn't. Why, did she figure it out or something?
Sasha is an especially ripe source of worry for Mcatlin, and he pleads for an opportunity to speak with her. Heading into the interrogation room now, the detectives will set this prize before him and give him a chance to work for it.
Okay. Do you need anything else in the meantime?
Can I call Sasha, please?
Yeah, we'll let you call Sasha. We'll have to do that in just a second, okay? It'll be just a minute. We'll let you eat. We'd like to talk to you a little bit more.
I just really want to talk to her right now.
I know, man.
Sasha is clearly still a priority for Mcatlin, and he pushes to speak to her. The way he presses for this suggests he feels at ease making requests from the detectives, that he believes they are by now on a more level playing field.
We'll be right back.
What is wrong with me?
Although the detectives have successfully crafted rapport with Mcatlin, they cannot sacrifice their authority over him. They need him to be responsive to commands and instructions, so they can draw out further information. By leaving him isolated in the interview room for long periods of time, his restless movements betray the tension building within.
At this point, you know how I told you that Liz had her daughter?
Yeah.
How would you feel about writing an apology letter to her?
Like, I would want to say that I would try to help her in any way, but then she'd probably just hate me anyway.
Well, and this can come from your heart, okay? How she accepts it's another thing that you have no control over. Okay? Let me go get you some paper and a pen.
Okay.
You can do that, and like I said, it's going to come from your heart. Be as detailed as you want with it. And
You don't have any normal paper?
that's all I got.
Interestingly, he shows no concern over traumatizing the young girl, indicating his focus still lies firmly upon his own perception and self-image. The detectives don't try to cajole him into writing the letter. It's not exactly a request, but more something they're pushing Mcatlin to do. And, as an audience to this interrogation, one would suspect the detectives have ulterior motives here. Convincing Mcatlin to put details of the crime to paper solidifies their case with additional evidence, and to this end, they stress that he shouldn't hold back on details.
Hey, what's up? You all done? Thanks for doing that.
Do you need more water now? Please.
Some more water?
Yeah.
Are you doing okay otherwise?
Yeah. Can I call Sasha?
Yeah. We'll let you call Sasha.
He's upheld his end of the bargain, and he wants his reward. Mcatlin made several phone calls to Sasha in the days after he was arrested, suggesting in the first conversation that he wouldn't be in jail for very long. This is in stark contrast to his prior conversations with Michael and Billy, where he lamented he'd be going away for a very long time. He reassured Sasha that his drug use and lack of prior record would shield him from serving more than 10 years, unaware that his shame and efforts to clean up have demonstrated his cognizance during the crime. On some level, he's also bought into the detective's displays of compassion and assurances that he's a good person, and has thus completely underestimated the legal repercussions he now faces. Days in a holding cell provide Mcatlin time and space to reflect on his confession. His supposed honesty and shame is abandoned, replaced with rationalizations that shield his aloof, aggressive self-image. In another call with Sasha, he reframes the murder as a retaliation, clarifying he stabbed a person he thought was robbing him. Discarding any insight he gained into his own flaws, Mcatlin pled not guilty to a single charge of first-degree murder. His lawyer argued Carter's slap provoked him, sending Mcatlin into a drug-fueled emotional breakdown that presented mitigating circumstances. Judge and jury alike were more confident in his guilt. On April 19, 2019, Mcatlin was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison, with possibility for parole after 15 years. Scott Williamson, who'd known Elizabeth Carter for over 12 years, admired her creativity, remembering her love for ceramic art and photography. Carter had only moved to her apartment on Bluff Street a few months before her death and had been looking forward to a new sense of independence and freedom. Her loved ones are left with stories of traveling with Carter to beaches and national parks and lessons they learned from her. Memories which they should have been able to treasure and build upon, but instead will be shot through with sorrow. Carter will never see her daughter grow into an adult. Yet the trauma of her loss cannot obscure the good that she created in her life. She would accept anyone for who they are and will forever be remembered as a beautiful soul.